Mercedes just won again in Japan. But this time, they didn't just leave with a trophy. They left with something far more dangerous. Attention. Because hidden in the data from Suzuka? There's a performance gap so extreme, it's forcing the FIA to look closer. We're talking about a car that gains more energy every lap, loses less tire performance over time, and somehow gets faster, while everyone else fades. 3 races. 3 wins. 133 points already on the board. That's not dominance. That's control. And when one team controls everything, Formula One starts asking questions. Behind the scenes, rivals are already digging. Engineers are comparing numbers that don't make sense. And now, the FIA is quietly expanding what they're looking at. Because if this advantage is real, this could become the biggest technical controversy of the season. And here's the part nobody is ready for. Inside Mercedes, the tension is just getting started. Subscribe now, because the detail that triggered the investigation comes later. Right after the checkered flag in Japan. Everything looked normal. Mercedes on top. Another clean victory. Another step toward total control of the season. But that's only what the cameras showed. Because behind the scenes, the mood was very different. Inside the Mercedes garage, this wasn't a simple win. It was a race that exposed something unexpected. Tension. And it didn't come from rivals. It came from within. Because while Antonelli was celebrating one of the most important wins of his career, George Russell was walking away with a completely different feeling. Same car, same team, completely different outcome. And that difference started long before Sunday. It started with a decision. A small setup change. One that seemed harmless at the time, but ended up defining the entire weekend. Russell adjusted the balance of the car before qualifying. Just a slight shift toward more rear instability. On paper, it was meant to gain rotation. On track, it felt like something was broken. From that moment, everything changed. Because in Suzuka, if you lose confidence in the car, you lose everything. Qualifying pace, race position, strategic control. And that's exactly what happened. Russell missed out on maximizing the car. And in a circuit where overtaking is almost impossible, that mistake carried into Sunday. Now here's where things become uncomfortable. Because despite all of that, Russell actually did everything right at the start. Perfect launch. Aggressive positioning. For a moment, he was ahead, leading the race. But even then, something felt off. Because while Russell was fighting to maintain position, Antonelli was doing something very different. He was recovering. Quietly. Efficiently. And most importantly, faster. Much faster. Even stuck behind cars? Even in dirty air? The pace difference was clear. Now think about what that means. One driver struggling to hold position. The other, climbing through the field with ease. Same machinery. Different reality. And this is where the tension inside Mercedes truly begins. Because Formula One teams don't just look at results. They look at data. And the data was undeniable. Antonelli had the pace. Russell didn't. Not that weekend. And when a team fighting for a championship sees that kind of gap between teammates, decisions start to change. Priorities shift. And trust starts to move in one direction. But this still isn't the biggest problem. Because what happened next forced Mercedes to make a choice. A choice that would decide the race. And at the same time, reveal who they were really backing. Lap 22. This is where everything breaks. Not just the race. The balance inside Mercedes. A crash brings out the safety car. And in that moment, every team faces the same question. Do you pit, or do you stay out? Simple on the surface. But this decision decides everything. Now watch carefully what Mercedes does. Because this is not random. This is not instinct. This is calculated. Antonelli dives into the pits. Fresh soft tires. Maximum grip. Full attack mode for the restart. Russell stays out. Old tires. Worn grip. Defensive position. And just like that, 2 completely different races are created inside the same team. Now here's the part most people missed. This wasn't just strategy. This was a choice. Because Mercedes knew exactly what they were doing. They knew track position under safety car could flip the race. They knew fresh tires at Suzuka mean everything after a restart. And most importantly, they knew which driver had the pace to use it. Antonelli exits the pit lane. And somehow, he's leading. From third to first. That doesn't happen by accident. That's timing. Perfect timing. Now the race restarts. Green flag. And within just a few corners, the difference becomes obvious. Antonelli pulls away. Not slowly. Immediately. 1 second. Then more. And behind him, no one can respond. Because now everything is aligned. clean air, fresh tires, and something else? Something far more important. Control. While other drivers are managing degradation, adjusting energy deployment, trying to survive the stint, Antonelli is simply driving. Flat out. No compromises. And Russell. This is where his race starts to fade. He did nothing wrong in that moment. That's the reality. But the decision placed him in a position he could not escape. Worn tires. No grip. No opportunity to attack. And in Suzuka? Once you lose track position, you are trapped. Lap after lap, nothing changes. The gap stays. The order freezes. And slowly, the frustration builds. Because from inside the cockpit, you know the race is gone. And here's where the tension becomes real. Because both drivers understand what just happened. One was given the opportunity to win. The other was left to manage the damage. Same team, different priorities. And in a championship fight, that matters more than anything. But this still isn't the biggest problem Mercedes is facing. Because while all of this was happening on track, something else was happening off track. Engineers, rivals, and now, the FIA. Looking at the data from this exact moment. Because what happened after this restart is what triggered the investigation. Not the strategy, not the positions, the performance. Because from here on, the numbers stop making sense. And this is where the entire narrative changes. Because after the restart, there was no fight, no pressure, no degradation curve that brought Mercedes back to the field. Instead, the gap increased. Consistently, relentlessly. Lap after lap, Antonelli was not just maintaining the lead. He was extending it. And here's the part that made engineers across the paddock stop and look twice. He wasn't pushing. There were no signs of overdriving. No aggressive corrections. No visible strain on the tires. Just smooth, controlled pace. And yet, he was pulling away by seconds. By the end of the race, the gap wasn't small. It was over 13 seconds. Now think about what that means. In modern Formula 1, a gap like that doesn't come from one advantage. It comes from multiple systems working perfectly together. And when teams analyzed the data after the race, that's exactly what they found. Mercedes wasn't winning in one area. They were winning everywhere. Top speed, energy deployment, tire management, all aligned, all optimized. And that's where things started to feel uncomfortable. Because normally, there's always a trade-off. You push the tires, you lose them later. You deploy more energy, you suffer at the end of the straight. You chase top speed, you sacrifice corner stability. There is always a compromise. But here, there wasn't. According to the performance data, Mercedes was harvesting more energy per lap than any other team, deploying more energy when it mattered, and still experiencing less tire degradation over time. That combination should not exist. Not under the same regulations. Not with the same limitations. And this is exactly where the FIA enters the story. Because when multiple teams report the same anomaly, it stops being curiosity. It becomes scrutiny. Quiet at first. Technical questions. Data comparisons. Internal reviews. But then, it escalates. Because the more they looked, the clearer it became. This wasn't just a fast car. This was a system. A system that removes complexity from the driver and turns performance into something repeatable, predictable, almost automated. Antonelli even admitted it without realizing the impact. He said he doesn't have to think about energy management. The car does it for him. Now imagine what that means in a race. While other drivers are adjusting settings corner after corner, Mercedes drivers are fully focused. No distractions. Maximum precision. Every lap. And that is where the real advantage is hiding. Not just in speed, but in simplicity. And simplicity at this level is dangerous for everyone else. Because it's not easy to copy. It's not something you fix with an upgrade package. It's architecture. It's design philosophy. And that's exactly why the FIA is now looking deeper. Because if one team has effectively solved a problem that defines modern Formula 1, then the entire competitive balance is at risk. And when that happens, the sport reacts. Rules get clarified. Systems get questioned. Advantages get challenged. And suddenly, dominance turns into pressure. Because now, Mercedes is no longer just being chased on track. They are being watched, analyzed, questioned. And inside the team, they know it. Because when you reach this level of performance, every detail matters. Every system gets examined. Every advantage becomes a potential problem. And if the FIA finds something, anything, this entire season could change in an instant. But here's the real twist. The biggest threat to Mercedes might not come from the investigation. It might come from within. Because while the team is dealing with external pressure, there is a battle quietly building inside the garage. And that battle is only getting started. And this is where the real pressure begins to build. Not on track. Inside Mercedes. Because while the outside world starts asking questions, inside the garage, a completely different tension is growing. Two drivers. One car that dominates everything. And now, one clear leader. Antonelli leaves Japan at the top of the championship. Young, calm, almost untouched by pressure. While Russell drops behind. Not by a huge margin, but enough to change everything. Because in Formula One, position inside the team matters just as much as position on track. And after Suzuka, the dynamic has shifted. Completely. Russell started the season as the reference. The experienced driver. The expected leader. But now, he's chasing. And that changes how decisions are made. Because teams don't just react to results. They react to trends. And right now, the trend is clear. Antonelli has the momentum. Antonelli has the pace. Antonelli is delivering under pressure. And most importantly, Antonelli is winning. Now here's where it becomes uncomfortable. Because when a team begins to see one driver as the stronger option, everything shifts subtly. Strategy calls, development direction, even trust in critical moments. Not publicly, never openly, but internally, it's impossible to ignore. And Suzuka was the first clear example. When the safety car came out, Mercedes made a choice. And that choice favored Antonelli. Not by mistake. Not by coincidence. By confidence. Confidence in who could convert that opportunity into a win. And that's the kind of moment drivers never forget. Because even if it makes sense, it still leaves a mark. Now imagine being Russell in that situation. You know the car is capable of winning. You know you had track position. And yet, the race slips away through a decision you can't control. That frustration doesn't disappear. It builds. Quietly. Race after race. And when you combine that with something else, the pressure becomes even heavier. Because while Russell is trying to recover momentum, he's also dealing with something new. Doubt. Not from the team. Not directly. But from the results. From the data. From the reality that his teammate is currently faster. And in Formula One, that is the hardest thing to accept. But here's where everything connects. Because this internal tension is happening at the exact same time. As external pressure is rising. The FIA watching. Rivals questioning. The spotlight getting stronger with every race. And that combination is dangerous. Because a team under investigation, and a team with internal tension, is a team that can crack. Even if they have the fastest car. Even if they are winning everything. History has shown this before. Dominance doesn't collapse from the outside first. It cracks from within. Small moments. Small decisions. Small frustrations. Until one day, it becomes visible. And right now, Mercedes is walking that exact line. Still winning. Still dominant. But carrying more pressure than anyone realizes. Because if the FIA finds something, and if the internal balance shifts even further, this season could turn faster than anyone expects. And the real question is not whether Mercedes is the fastest team. That's already clear. The real question is, how long can they hold everything together?